Hey guys, it's Jipped. Today, in continuance of where we are with the anime-style tanks in the Southeast Asia server, we've got a full review of the Edelweiss, and we're taking a look at it here in the garage again, nicely modeled, but this time we're going to take a look at the armor profile since I realize there is an armor mod in the game that I can use on this mod pack. So let's take a look at it. I still think it is very nicely modeled, considering it is an anime tank and put into the game. The cell shading, it does sort of not really fit in with the game, but that's up for debate, of course. So if we take a look at the armor of the tank, you can see it's got some side skirts here that are actually modeled, and you can look at the hull here and see this flat frontal. It's very similar to a Tiger 1, and the cupola behind this is difficult to see or hit, but it's an interesting design here for the gun mantlet. And the thing is, I have been able to pen this quite easily if you shoot just directly at the gun. In general, it is a narrow, small target here for the turret, but you look at next to the gun on either side, it's 120 armor, and up here around, it's not great, but if you shoot directly at it, you have a chance of damaging the gun or going straight through this mantlet. And that was done with, I think, the Nameless with 220 pen. The cupola, obviously weak spot. Flat armor, it actually does have 120 all on this front plate here, and it's about 122 at this kind of angle, so most things should be able to pen it quite easily, equal tier, and even if you do angle it, it's not going to get too much higher than 150 here on the flat part, but the upper glacis does have a chance of bouncing, you know, the lower pen guns. Because it is rounded, you can see it does get a bit easier to pen as you get closer, and then obviously the ricochet angle gets better as you move farther away. In terms of the side armor, I think it's 60 side armor, but base, but it's not going to bounce too much other than the auto ricochet angles. I'm not too sure how this spaced armor will work. But the tank, you don't expect to bounce too much nowadays. The new premiums have lots of pen, unlike this tank, but it does get infinitely better when you do load gold ammo. So one thing that we'll take a look at other than that is the crew. Here we can see Gunther, the commander of the tank, and his sister, Isara. And Welkin and Isara are fully voiced, I believe, by their seiyuu in this tank, and they do have their lines from the show, or sorry, from the game, or the show, both of them actually. And what we'll do now is we'll take a look at tanks.gg and see what kind of stats and how this tank compares to the rest of the Tier 8 Premium Mediums. Alright, so here we are on tanks.gg, and we're going to compare the Edelweiss to somewhat similar Tier 8 Premium Medium tanks. You can see we've got the STA-2 lined up here, the Panther 88, since it does share an 88mm gun, the 58 Mutts, the CDC, and the Mod 1. So the Mod 1's in there because it has armor similar to the Edelweiss, but the gun handling is nothing compared to it, nor is the mobility. The CDC is there because the mobility, as well as the 58 Mutts, and the Panther 88 gun should handle the same. The STA-2 is probably the best Tier 8 Premium Medium right now because of its gun handling. There's no reason that the others shouldn't handle the same, but we'll break it down in terms of comparables because the Edelweiss and STA-2 are both Japanese mediums at Tier 8. The one thing we can see straight from the screen is that they share the same DPM, but the STA-2 does have the advantage in penetration. The 195 penetration on the Edelweiss definitely doesn't cut it in today's meta with the new premium heavy tanks, and you're going to want over 212. The other tanks you can see, the Panther 88, 203, still not great, but the Mutts and the CDC both have great pen. The 54 Mod 1 has terrible pen at 183, and both these tanks get much better when you load gold, of course. Going down, it does compare rather well with the rest of the tanks, other than the CDC with its ammo capacity. You can see that 60 shells is quite a lot, and it does have high potential damage. Obviously not as much as the CDC, but the CDC is a paper tank. When it comes to gun handling, the STA-2 does have the best gun handling at a Tier 8 Premium Medium. It has 2.1 seconds aim time, which is by far the best, and the turret traverse at 0.10. Compared to the rest, the Edelweiss fares quite well. It's kind of in between the Panther 88, the Mutts, and the STA-2 in some aspects. The gun handling I find has been quite alright. The aim time at 2.3 isn't spectacular, but it's not bad either. With once you get a good crew probably, and if you run a premium consumable, you won't notice it too much. But it does detract from the tank if you're not firing gold, because you're not going to be able to hit those weak spots or snipe as well in that sense. In terms of gun depression, most of the other tanks do have 10 degrees here, except for the Mod 1, which is Russian, so it has 6, but it has good turret armor, and the Panther 88, which is a similar build with 8 degrees of gun depression. In terms of mobility, this is where the Edelweiss is very good. It has a huge specific power to weight ratio of 25, and the terrain resistances are incredible. You can see that the CDC, as we all know, has a fantastic power to weight ratio, but it is greatly hindered by its terrain resistances, which are double of that of the Edelweiss. Now, because the Edelweiss does have a top speed limit of about 60 kilometers an hour, it does make it much faster than the STA-2, and that specific power makes it feel very agile in comparison. In terms of armor as well, STA-2, Panther 88, the 58 Mutts, the CDC, you're not going to expect to bounce very much or anything at all in those tanks. Whereas in the Edelweiss, you can see you've got 120 hull armor in the front, 60 and 60, and then in the turret you've got 120, 80, and 60, and the turret is very narrow. As we saw in the armor model, the turret can be penned straight on if you shoot around the gun. The mantlet isn't very thick at all, and the hull does have that huge flat frontal weak spot similar to the Tiger 1. In terms of view range, 390, it's average, pretty good for a tier 8 premium, so you can reach max view range with a good crew and either vents or a consumable instead of optics. Alright, so here we are ready to get into a game on airfield. It's not too bad. There's only about 3 tier 9s on the enemy team, so we are kind of top tier in that sense. We do see your tier 7s, which is nice to see when you're a tier 8 medium. Of course, I have APCR loaded as standard right now because we're going to be seeing stuff like 875s, NT10s, and IS6s in the heavy lane, which I don't really want to try shooting with 195 pen. Shout out to my friend Fog and Steel, my mate in Australia. He's playing with me here. He's in his Lorraine 40T, and hopefully he'll give me some backup. Maybe. Anyways, the Edelweiss, I'm having a ton of fun playing it because of its mobility, and it does have some armor, and the gun handling is quite acceptable. So you can see here, get a shot at the pilot on the third person aim, and I mean, if I hadn't been in the Edelweiss, if I had been a slower tank, I probably would have been spotted and just destroyed right there, not being able to get up without getting shot by all the TDs that would be camping. So we can see 1375 on the map behind us. Not great. He'll probably spot us. I still don't have 6th Sense on this tank. And he's just going to sit there behind that rock. You can see it's taking our heavies quite a while to pick up behind us, and I do have that replay bug where just everything is showing up as last spotted on our team near the spawn. So we can see, as expected, we'll have the heavy tanks, the Defender, the Tiger P, probably the E75 heading our way down the heavy alley, but our job right now is to cover this side. Now the IS-6 makes a very aggressive play here. There's a T-20 behind me, and there's not really much room for me here. I'm going to try to shoot the IS-6, but I only end up tracking him. He repairs, so we know he's burned his repair kit for at least 90 seconds. The T-20 is shooting HE, and he is really just taking up all the cover and pushing me out. So I have no cover here. If he was shooting, you know, regular rounds, well, that's great. You know, of course I didn't pen in the same spot. So the 1375 is taking pot shots at me. The IS-6 is as well. I'm not sure why Fog is shooting the 1375 instead of the IS-6. But yeah, if this T-20 was shooting, you know, regular rounds, I wouldn't have had to take probably that extra shot. So the IS-6 just threw his tank away, except he dealt, you know, about 1,000 damage to me combined with the 1375 with that YOLO play. And I had no cover because of this T-20, and I'm going to let Fog know because that was just really annoying. So, get into some cover. 1375 isn't too keen on peeking us, I think. So we're going to take a look in the middle again and see if we can spot anything. And our Scorpion G just got RD'd for most of his health, because RD is fair and balanced still. Anyways, not too much going on here. The T10 and Defender look like they're going to make us play the same play. The T20 wants to take up the same position. That's a pretty lucky shot and a high roll on the T10 on my part. I'm not going to let the T20 you know, let me sit in the open again, because I'm a one-shot for both these tanks. Comet crosses, take a shot at him. Obviously didn't need APCR for that, but I did have it loaded for the Defender and the T10. So I've taken up the position here. I am fully hull down, basically. And I'll just wait for them to continue peeking. That is a bad peek on their part because of RD in this game and the TDs. Kind of distracted by the Comet, not sure, because he would have the best chance of penning me from that angle compared to the others, so I'm a little bit worried about him. His pen isn't that good. I think he has, what, 150 pen base for Tier 7 Comet, unless he's shooting APCR. You can see the T10 Defender there just getting wrecked by the RD. And looks like the T20 is taking blind shots at the 1375. Fortunately, those two have to pull off, and we can live another day. 1370 peeks out. He gets picked up by me. That's the kind of gun handling you're going to expect from this. This is just with vents and onigiri. Now we take a look behind us, we see the Scorpion and T25-2 are pushing up. I'm pinging it to let Fog know, or the rest of the team, and no one's really paying attention, but it won't be too bad. This is a powerful position against their push. Basically once they poke out, I can easily spot them and double push and not get spotted. So I'm not sure if they're going to pull out and YOLO straight through, but it's unlikely given where the LTTB is in J9. So I don't think they'll push out there. The next thing that'll happen is that they will probably come up through the passes, and there we see the T25-2 get spotted as he does. Looks like the LTTB got a shot. So he's actually coming out through. Here I pull back to double push, get a shot into the side. Now I wasn't fast enough to get AP loaded for the next shot, so it's still APCR, but the next one will be AP. These tanks are paper, so I'm not going to expect to have any difficulty penning them at all. So our Tiger 1's there. Scorpion takes a really bad path through there. So I should be spotted from that, but the Scorpion does have bad view range, so maybe I'm not. T25-2 pokes. That shot would have killed him, but of course it goes down. The pilot's peeking now, as well as a Tiger P. Now I'm not going to pull in front of Fog here because he's got an autoloader and he should be getting these shots. So I'm going to wait for him to unload before I peek. But I'm not sure why he's pulling back so far, so I don't expect him to get another shot. That one barely misses. But it's fantastic gun handling in the sense of a Tier 8 premium medium, or Tier 8 medium tank in general. I think they're generally very frustrating to play unless you're in something like the 40T with an autoloader, or the M4 Rev with its 390 Alpha. So there I wanted to try and cover the IS too, but he couldn't take the hit, and I couldn't peek out too far in case of the Borsig or the IKV behind. So here the Tiger P is not paying any attention, so I get to shoot him a couple times. You can see that with my crew, the onigiri, and the vents, my reload's below 6 seconds, which is amazing. So it does have good DPM that way. Now we're going to wait till we get unspotted. Usually there's just TDs camping in the back down this lane that will just rip you apart. The Borsig gets spotted. I have APCR loaded, which is unfortunate. So I do track him with that shot. Not sure if I'm getting spotted or not, but because he's there I don't have to worry too much. I'm in pretty good cover. And I can't tell if he's actually aiming at me or not quite yet, so it doesn't look like it now. That shot doesn't go anywhere, which is nice. The .38 accuracy ain't the best, and I'm not sure what happened there. Does not pen. Crit hit. So that's Gunther saying, you know, gotta do what you gotta do. This is war. So we're gonna try to spot out the ICV. We do get a spot on. Double bush. Don't want to get RD'd. That was a bad shot. There was not enough lead on there. Probably because of the shell velocity on the AP compared to the APCR I was shooting before. There he is. Next shot. He just disappears there. And I pull out to the bush, and I do have max view range. Basically, I'm at 442 meters maybe at this point. But that camo value. So I'm assuming I'm not spotted because he's probably running binocs, and he's a tier 7 and wouldn't spot me. And now I'm thinking to myself, there's Artie and the ICV left. We should probably load AG. And I believe that's what I should be doing right about now, but I don't think I will until the next round of shots. I do have bad experiences with AG. They don't usually do me any favors. And it's more a desperation move. Artie takes a shot at me. That was pretty lucky that he only hit me for 337. Considering he's pre-aimed and expecting me to come there, it's pretty bad. I don't want the crew to take that long, so I shoot HE into his cupola, managed to hit for 305, which is a high roll compared to what I normally do, and 145 there. It still takes me 2 shots to kill an Artie with HE at this tier. ICV bounces off me. 324 is a nice roll there. And I'm out of HE now, so the next shot is AP, but I don't get it as Fog picks him up. So you can see the win rate's at 12.183 that we know of in terms of damage. We have 4K and 859 spotting. We'll take a look at the end plates now. We got the Ace Tanker. I think this is a Levia La Rousseau's medal, probably for killing tanks a couple tiers higher. Get the High Caliber and a Confederate for shooting so many different enemies. We made 15,000 credits with a premium account and shooting a fair amount of APCR. You can see the assisted damage, 859, that's from spotting out on Artie and other tanks, and 3,944 own damage. The base XP for this ace was 1,396, and not a lot of credits in this tank because you are shooting APCR for the most part if you wanted to be nearly anywhere effective in the game. In all, the tank is great if you're shooting APCR using premium consumable. Otherwise, it's not a great tank. You do have a crew, which is a 0 skill crew that you can't change out of the tank, so you can't train your other crews with it. But it is a very unique tank. It's fast and it has armor, and the gun handling is very decent for what it is. So it is up to you whether you think it's a worthwhile investment. For me, I like to play a variety of tanks, all different styles, and just have fun with their different play styles. This tank is nice and fast, which I like, and does manage to bounce every now and then. All in all, I would say it's pretty much a collector's tank, and other than that, I'm sure everyone that's watching this probably does like Valkyrie Chronicles, or are wondering what is this weird cartoony tank, and what is an Edelweiss. But it's fun in that sense to get this crew and the lines and just have some variation in the game. Honestly, I think it belongs more on the console version, where they do have some ridiculous like Godzilla tanks that shoot dragons and things like that, as far as I've heard. But it's fun, and it's only on the Southeast Asia server right now, so I guess they're catering to a certain demographic. Who knows? Anyways, I hope this has been helpful, and hope you guys have a good one. Happy tanking!